Can a £60 group set from AliExpress actually be any good? After checking out some pretty ludicrously expensive handlebars in last week's video, I flipped the budget on its head and got something in a far more palatable price range to take a look at today. And that is this LTWOO R7 full group set that cost me only £62. And no, I'm not talking the usual shifters and mechs only setup that most AliExpress listings class as group sets. I'm talking the full deal, with one little exception. So yeah, this is the LTWOO R7 road bike group set that I picked up, as I said, from AliExpress for just £60. And as you can see, it's already set up on my road bike right here. We're now in the depths of winter in the UK, and I've been riding this for the past few months. But first things first, we're gonna jump back in time to a few months ago in the summer where I first unboxed this group set and got it on the bike. And then we'll talk about how it rides. Now this group set I've bought is an LTWOO R7 rim brake mechanical group set. And after my experience with the LTWOO GR9 group set on my AliExpress gravel bike right here, I was really impressed and wanted to try something else LTWOO. And I came across this on sale for £62. And yeah, I was all for it. If you've shopped for group sets on AliExpress before, you'll know that almost always all you get is the shifters and the mechs, and you need to supply your own chain, cassette and brakes. However, with this one, what really caught my eye was the fact that it also included a chain, cassette and brakes, all for that £62 price. So the only thing I needed to supply was my own crankset, and now I've got this really old Ultegra one knocking around here, but you could use any old cranks that you have lying around, or you found on eBay, or to be honest with you, the most sensible choice would be something like a Senix PR3, which cost about £40 on AliExpress. So all in, for less than 100 quid, you could get yourself a complete group set, which if you're speccing out a winter bike or just some training bike to put the miles in on, could be a really sensible choice. But it won't be sensible if the performance is absolutely rubbish. So we're gonna find out how it performs. Now the bike I'm gonna use to test it is my Cannondale CAD 13, which was a bike I sort of set up to be a winter bike last year with a mix of 105 and Ultegra components. So I'm gonna be ripping off the 105 off this bike and throwing on the LTWOO group set, and we'll see if it's any good. The only thing I won't be able to test is the brake calipers, as this frame uses direct mount rim brake calipers, and I don't have any non-direct mount rim brake frames, so we'll have to be running the old Ultegra ones on here. So having a look what we got, it is a 10-speed group set, and it comes with a 10-speed 11 to 32 cassette, which pretty hefty, proper like solid block of steel kind of cassette. The brake calipers are very basic Z-Race BR001 calipers, but they look like they've got quite a lot of adjustment in terms of the pads, and yeah, they just look pretty standard, old school rim brake calipers. And then it's a Z-Race branded chain, 10-speed again. Who knows how this will perform. Then in terms of the mechs, the rear mech does weigh a lot. I will go through and weigh all of these in a minute. And now, yeah, it's quite a old school style design, limit screws, B-tension, all the rest. Pulleys seem to spin all right. Yeah, pretty short cage on it though. And then the front mech, again, a pretty bog standard front mech. And then the shifters are what I'm really excited about. These LTWOO shifters I find really comfortable in the hand, and they're using like the new design LTWOO with the long thumb lever. And yeah, they click nicely and come with cables pre-installed. The only other thing I've realized I'm gonna have to supply is my own brake cables, as this just has a shift cable in it. And same with the front. Pretty weighty, aluminium shifter and brake paddle. But yeah, the rubbers feel good and they feel like they're gonna be quite good in the hand. This is definitely no weight weenie group set, but let's just see what it weighs in at. So the rear mech clocks in at 273.6 grams, front mech 98.8 grams, right shifter with cable 264.7 grams, left shifter with cable and clamp 263.3 grams, brakes 202.6 and 197.3 grams. The difference being the length of the bolt for front or rear. Cassette with just a little plastic insert 367.3 grams, so that's quite a lot of weight there. And the chain with an unspecified number of links is clocking in, with quick link, is clocking in at 302.5 grams. So definitely not light, but hopefully cheap and functional and perfect for a winter bike. So next job, let's get it thrown on the bike. The install process was pretty pain-free. I got everything set up nice and easy. Right, so we're back now in the present day, and now we're going to talk my thoughts on this L2 R9 group set. I've now been putting this group set through its paces for the past few months, doing loads of rides to work and back, as well as a few big days out in the Peak District, giving it a proper test. Unsurprisingly, I've got a load of thoughts all about this group set that I want to share with you all. First things first though, we're going to talk the price. Now, I paid £62 for this group set when I ordered it last summer. However, now I've had a look on AliExpress and it's now showing at about £73. However, I do have a coupon that I'll leave linked in the description below that will save you £7 off the purchase of this group set, which would take the price down to about 66 quid. So not that much more than I paid for it. Now that link will be affiliated, so if you do buy through it, you'll help support the channel and give me funds to purchase more stuff like this group set right here to make reviews for you guys. So we're going to start with a few drawbacks I've noticed when I've been riding this for the past few months. And the first thing is the chain retention and the rear mech spring is really quite weak. So yeah, because of that, I wouldn't really recommend it for anything outside of purely road use, as your chain slap's going to be pretty awful. Now, yes, I probably could take a link or two out of my chain, but it's still not ideal. And yeah, this mech is quite weak. Aside from that, it's not too bad. A second big drawback though, I have noticed with this group set, as you saw in the unboxing, was its weight. It is no lightweight setup and is definitely not one for building a lightweight race bike. But if it's a winter bike like this, you don't really care about the weight. It's just about getting training miles in on something that works. And for that, it's absolutely perfect. Another con is the overall fit and finish isn't super premium. Now, it's not bad by any stretch, but it's definitely not on the level of something like Shimano 105 or Ultegra. If you just have a look, there's a lot of rough edges. I mean, the mech's a pretty cheapo, sort of very bog standard design. And while the shifters are nice, they are still pretty rough around the edges and not the, you know, super premium feel that you get from like 11-speed Shimano stuff. But I have to say, despite that, the hood rubbers are still pretty comfortable. But yeah, you can tell like the quality of the plastic molding and stuff isn't super top quality, but you know, 60 quid. And I'm going to keep saying that because I think a lot of the big downsides of this group set are pretty well addressed by the price. And now, of course, one other downside is it doesn't include a chain set, which can be one of the most expensive parts of a group set. And now, without trying to become the Ultegra version of the GCN Alex joke, I have thrown a random Ultegra chain set that I had lying around on this bike. And now the shifting quality is absolutely brilliant up front, but obviously the chain set does make a big difference. However, you can usually get a chain set pretty cheap off AliExpress, or secondhand chain sets really don't cost that much money. The SRAM Red one I put on my hill climb bike with rings cost me about 70 quid. And that's one of the lightest carbon chain sets you can buy. And generally you can get an Ultegra chain set for less than 50 quid. And you never know, if you have a rummage around your spare parts, you might just have a Dura Ace chain set lying around. And really the final con I've got, it was a bit of a faff to get it all dialed in and indexed properly. I have to say, I think it was a bit more difficult than sorting out the indexing on Shimano 105 when I've set that up in the past. And it's definitely a lot harder than setting up Di2, I'll tell you that for free. In the end, I've managed to get it all shifting really nice and smoothly, and I really can't complain about the shifting performance. Which leads us nicely into all the pros of this group set. Obviously, I have to start with just how crazy cheap this is. If you think about it, it is almost impossible to get a group set from pretty much any other manufacturer that costs as cheap as this. You know, a set of tyres these days will set you back more than 60 quid. And yeah, it's a fully functional group set that even included brakes, a chain, cassette. Now, yes, they're not the highest end things in the world and they're cheap, heavy versions, but to get a working group set for 60 quid, you know, I just can't complain there. That's just crazy to me. And next up, the shift quality is pretty much spot on. I have not had a single problem with how this group set's been shifting in the time I've been using it. It's been absolutely spot on and not missed a beat. Now, it took me a while to faff around with the front mech, but once I've got it dialed, it's perfect. And maybe while not quite as slick as something like Shimano Hyperglide, it does shift really well. I would compare the feel to a bit more like, you know, if anyone's used old 10-speed SRAM, it has that slightly clunky when you're shifting feel. Rather than it being the nice, smooth, gliding kind of shift that Shimano often gives, where you sometimes don't even notice you changed gear. This definitely has quite a positive clunk as you switch through the gears. Another huge pro with this group set, and me being a lifelong Campag fan, it puts a smile on my face, is the heavily Campag inspired ergonomics of these shifters with the thumb lever. And I really like it, especially how it is this like elongated version compared to the sort of Campag style, where you can access it really easily in the drops or on the hoods. And I've been using L2 GR9 on my gravel bike for a while now, and I get on with the shifting and like this shifter setup that's identical on these really well. Also, just the profiling of the hoods I find really comfortable, gives you a nice positive grip, and it's not too chunky on the top like SRAM ETAP can be and other group sets I've used. Yes, the Shimano R7000 hoods that I had on here before are perfectly comfortable, but there's just something about this thumb shifter style shifting that just puts a smile on my face. And I think for a budget group set, it works really, really well. Where the fiddly small levers that Shimano uses, I don't think would have worked so well on this, especially at the price point they're doing. Another really cool thing L2 does is they sell a gravel rear mech for this shifting system, which they call the GR7, and I've picked one of these up as well, and this is fully compatible with my R7 shifters, and yeah, would allow you, if you wanted the flexibility down the line to swap out to be in a gravel group set, to have a proper nice sort of clutched gravel rear mech, which, you know, allows you to run a really big cassette and just gives it a little bit more versatility. Now, this only cost me about 15 quid on AliExpress, so yeah, I just picked one up just in case I want to use this off-road. As I was saying, the rear mech on this group set definitely is not suitable for riding off-road. Now, how well will it last? Who knows? I've been using it for a few months now, and I've probably only put about 500 kilometers into it. But so far so good, it's all held up really well. And even the chain and cassette have not been a problem. Now, good luck wearing out one of them heavy duty steel cassettes, but yeah, I've not had any problems with it, and it's just been really nice to use. So how does it compare to the likes of 105 and stuff? So I would say the shift quality is not quite on par with 105, but you wouldn't expect it given the price. I would say the shift quality is sort of equivalent to that mid-2000s Shimano Sora or Tiagra kind of feel, and the quality of the mechs and stuff seem about on par with that. And you know, they are probably going to still set you back 200-300 quid for a group set, so it's £62. You just can't complain, can you? And I think this definitely shifts better than my old SRAM double tap setup, which was a bit cursed really with how it shifted, even though it was super light. Now, I guess the big question is, will it be staying on my bike? And considering I've got an R7000 setup sat in a box in my garage now, I think I'll be putting that back on and coming up with another project to use this on, maybe even a budget gravel build with this gravel mech. All in, I am super impressed with its shifting performance, and I really can't complain for the price. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried this R7 group set and what you think, because obviously it's not going to be perfect, and obviously it's not going to be the most premium piece of kit in the world, but it's not trying to compete with premium kit. You know, if you just need a group set to sort out a commuter bike or a winter training bike, and it just needs to work and not particularly be the most glamorous race-ready piece of kit in the world, you know, you can't get wrong with it. You can ride your bike, you can enjoy riding your bike, and it costs next to nought. So I have to say, I can excuse most of them downsides I've said, given that price point. So in conclusion then, can I recommend this L2 group set? And I have to say, I can excuse all of its drawbacks, given its crazy, crazy good price point. And I've actually loved riding it. Now, whilst, as I was saying, I probably will be taking it off this bike in favour of my 105 that's sat in a box in my garage, it's only really because I've got that 105 lying around. If it wasn't for that, I would definitely keep using this, and I will be finding another bike to use it on, maybe even bringing out the gravel mech and giving it a go on a gravel bike. You'll have to let me know what I should do with this group set in the comments below. Now, as I said before, I'm going to leave it linked in the description below, along with my coupon code that will knock the price down to a lot closer to the £62 that I spent on it. And of course, we're so close to that 7,000 subscriber mark now, so do me a massive favour and hit subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of the cool upcoming projects I've got. Whilst uploads have been a bit slow lately, over the Christmas period, I'm planning to put out a load of content while I've got a bit more free time to record. So that's all we got time for today, and I'll see you all in the next one.